Yeah, I spent all this time searching for another life. Had me turning on my purpose, I did nothing right. Sometimes it takes the dark to get you close to light.
What is up, guys? It is Joe Caruso here, and I just finished wrapping up Phoenix Trading Bootcamp here. This was the fourth one that I did, and I wanted to sit down and do a little bit of a podcast or interview, whatever you want to call it, with one of my good friends inside and outside of trading, just somebody I've known for several years. We knew each other before trading. We've been close friends while we were trading. He's seen my come up. I've seen his come up. He's been here to the last couple boot camps, and just really want to highlight somebody who has gone through that period of time as a struggling trader and what they've done to go from point A to point B to now where this guy is funded $250,000 in prop firm capital and has gotten paid out, getting payouts in both futures and the forex markets. So I'll allow him to introduce himself quick as well. Mr. GringoFX.
Thank you for having me, bro. Yeah, like he said, I am now funded 250K in prop firm capital through two different prop firms. Um, I started trading about 5 years ago. I think I really started to dive deep into trading and becoming more experienced when I started trading the strategy that Joe showed me, and I think that I started to become more consistent in the space when I started to stick to that one strategy that helped me a lot. And attending Joe's boot camp, so I've been to all three. This is the third one, and I think that even from just attending these boot camps, I'm starting to become more and more experienced in this space. Now, like I said, I started trading about 5 years ago. I was introduced to trading by a mutual friend on Instagram, and actually he introduced me to a network marketing program called IML, or iMarkets Academy, and through that program, I was able to get into high frequency trading, and I think that that's where I started really seeing that how you can become profitable, but it's crazy because I didn't understand how people were consistently making money until I started taking on this.
Well, that'll be an edit.
So starting with binary options, it was basically the best way for me to get my feet wet as far as knowing what MetaTrader was, what a forex broker was, how to fund my broker, etc. So getting into getting the gist of trading and understanding it, and then I started realizing that I was never profitable. I couldn't make money this way because it was I got stuck into the introduction of getting rich quick, or like forex traders flipping accounts. So I guess that's what my mind was stuck on in the beginning. The most was trying to flip accounts, trying to make money very fast, and I think that really messed me up, and it really made me into the trader I am today. And for those watching, for those who've been in this space and understand that, I think that in order for you to get to this point, you really need to go through those things. You need to understand that it's not a get rich quick uh it's not a get rich quick thing. It's definitely you have to learn, you have to really lock in with something. And that's when I started to see Joe. We were both going through the same things, jumping through the same hoops, losing a ton of money and trying to make it in the space. But I felt like I was still stuck in trying to get rich and trying to make it so quickly. And then I realized that, I felt like we were going into different directions where he was more focused on actually learning and adapting to doing it really slow, but understanding that it takes time. Or I was still trying to do it really fast. And then as I'm getting nowhere, trying to catch up, he's slowly progressing, and that's when I had to tell myself like, okay, like I have to do, I have to do what he's doing. Pretty much was just like cutting myself off. So the best thing for me was starting fresh. So even though I knew a lot, I was very knowledgeable of the markets, I've traded before, I had to come back into the space with a clean slate, understanding that I didn't know anything. I needed to start something new, a new strategy, and that's when stuff started to really click for me. And I asked Joe, what is it that I need to focus more on? What should I do? And he told me to focus on one thing, and he recommends that I focus on more of a higher time frames, or like the daily, the 4 hour chart. And in doing this, it changed the game for me. That's when things started to really click, and I became a lot more patient, and I started to see results.
That's awesome. And it's awesome to hear like a lot of us get into trading because we think it's a way to make money online and make money online quick, and thinking that that process is going to be easy or fast. What would you think is a good piece of advice? Because for people who get attracted to trading, some people are attracted to the time freedom, some are attracted to the money. But what do you think is a good piece of advice in reference to that time to actually get to the point where you're able to make like a consistent income from trading?
I think the best advice I can give someone to become consistent is to I think it would be to stick to one thing, to stick to one strategy, regardless of seeing instant results. And I say that because I didn't just start trading the strategy and the results started to show. It was after a year. So I started a free Discord giving out free signals with this strategy for a whole year before I started my own VIP channel, which I charge a subscription for. Um, and it took a whole year of trading the same strategy on the same time frame every single day. Waking up, I woke up at 6 a.m., hopped on charts, I did my calls, I would find setups, send out signal ideas, and then go about my day, and then go on charts again later that night, do another call that night. So it was like that for almost a year straight. And then once the new year came, 2024, I started my VIP channel, and that's where I would say that things started really changing for me. So I would say the best advice I can give to any trader or anybody out there trying to get into this is sticking to one strategy and give it time. Give yourself some time to really adapt to the strategy, but also don't be don't be afraid to help others and teach others it as well, because it'll help really. I would say it would help you take off in a sense. Like, you will start to see and feel the difference in who you are as a trader and person overall.
So do you think, because I did the same thing where like I went a couple months, it was like 3.5 months of creating a free group where I was posting the best of the best trades that I can come up with. And I was doing this while I was still also learning it myself. But I found that it was super helpful to see the difference in black and white between how my actual trading looked, like my actual MetaTrader history, versus what my group chat or what my signal channel at that time had looked like. Do you think that that helped you a lot with sticking to it instead of going off and doing something else?
Yes, 100%. And what also helped me a lot was creating my own spreadsheets, and then comparing the history of my trading to my spreadsheets. I think what it does is it holds you somewhat accountable to not just yourself, but to the people who are following you, to I guess to who you are too as well, because then you have some sort of track record that proves that it's not you it's you that's consistent and profitable, but it's the strategy works, and how your trading works. And that helps a lot in knowing that okay, if you took these exact trades at this exact time and followed a risk plan, whether you're risking 0.5% or maybe 1% per trade, you would have been profitable by the end of the month or by the end of the year. And I can't say that I went one month without being profitable. I think the whole year I was on. I would I still think I am actually. I'm on a winning streak since the beginning of last year, training the same strategy. And yeah, I think that doing those spreadsheets and keeping and actually keeping a record of the trading helped me a lot in understanding that this is what you have to do to become profitable.
Yeah, I definitely agree because it's easy if you're not following a strategy to take like a string of losses. But it's hard if somebody really sat you down and is like, "Hey, I want you to only call the absolute best of the best trades that you could possibly find." It's much harder for you to be following that and have a string of like 6, 7 losses in a row. When you're by yourself chasing a trade, it's so easy to go off and make all these mistakes. But when you have that accountability where you're trying to just call out and post the best of the best so you could see for other people as well, but also for you to see what you're actually capable of doing. um, it really helps you stay centered. And I think that it's a good opportunity, not even to, again, to with the intent of charging people in the beginning. It's not even about that. The main focus is really at first so you can see in black and white just what you're actually capable of with that particular strategy, because it really helps highlight how good you could be doing. Like you said, with being profitable almost every single month, it's hard if you're actually sticking to a 1 to 3, a 1 to 4. It's hard to end up negative at the end of the month because you have to lose like 80% of your trades consistently in order to actually end up negative if you risk the same amount per trade. So it's cool you highlight that when you actually stick to it and you have a strategy that has a real edge in the market, a decent win rate, good risk to reward, it's very difficult to actually end up negative unless you're completely screwing your risk management side up. One thing I want to ask, or another thing I wanted to ask, I should say, is because you've been trading for a while, as far as you've been trading for a handful of years, maybe 4 or 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, comparing your progress? So, like, what was different in your last 3 months or 6 months that brought you to being profitable that was different from the first 3, 4 years?
I think the most important thing was knowing how to handle a loss. I feel like that was my biggest obstacle, was being able to take a loss to the chin and being able to recover from that, being able to get away from the chart after taking a loss. My biggest problem for the first 3, I would say even 4 years of my trading was being able to take a loss like a man, and as a trader, I mean, as a true professional, and say, you know what, that was a loss. The confluence was there, the everything was good, but there was maybe some fundamentals that weren't in my favor, and maybe I missed something. Maybe market broke structure somewhere where the trade became, invalid, and it was too late to close. Whatever the case may be, I was just taking a loss, and I think that was probably where I started to what I guess helped me the most, and which that's when I felt the transition, was knowing, wow, okay, I took that loss. Um, what now? And that's when I realized, oh wow, I'm getting good. I'm actually getting this. Like, and I felt it. I started to really understand. Okay, today was a red day, but this week won't be red. I can promise you that. Or even if it was a red week, let's just say that I went on a string of losses. That it was one, maybe 2 or 3 losses for the week. I still was able to overcome that. Oh, I don't need to trade even tomorrow or for the rest of the week, because I know that I'm gonna take a trade that the R&R is gonna make sense, and I'm gonna recover these losses. Being able to take a step back from my computer and say, you know what, I was wrong. And if not, if you're still eager to try to recover from the trade or from the losses, make your next trade count. And I think the only way you can do that is by sticking to the strategy, sticking to the plan.
All right, man. Another good topic, especially with everything going on in the industry with prop firms and forex and regulations and my forex fund and MetaTrader license. It's cool to talk to you as somebody who's funded with both a forex prop firm and also a futures prop firm. And so, since you trade the same strategy, like what would you say, if there is any difference between how you trade one versus the other? Is it the same? Do you have to modify time frames or do anything differently?
I think the only difference is, I would say, the monitoring of the trades and the charts that I'm looking at. So with futures, especially with this futures prop firm, is the trades that I'm in, they need to be closed before the closing of the markets at 4 o'clock, compared to the forex market where I can hold trades for days or weeks on end. So the style of trading that I do is, trading off the 4 hour and daily time frame on forex, on the forex, with forex or forex platforms or forex prop firm. Compared to trading futures, I'm scalping, of course. So I have to be in and out of my trades in a certain time period, or I have to be out of my trade before the New York close. So I think the biggest difference is the time frames I'm using, but that's it. Everything else is the same. The same trading style, the same points of confluence or reasoning for taking a trade. Everything is the same. And if I'm trading, let's say the E-mini Dow, I'm trading US 30, trading forex. So it's really the same. If it's a chart, I can trade it because of the strategy, because of it's I'm using the same points of confluence. That's really the only difference, is the time frames.
Nice. And that brings up something, because I hear there's always like this debate. People talk about how trading is more about psychology than it is about strategy. I mean, I'm going to ask you and then I'll give like real quick. I think that you have to develop your psychology on top of your strategy. And if the strategy doesn't give you a real edge, or the strategy is not really a good strategy, it's very hard to actually develop proper trading psychology on top of that. So like my take on it is like you really have to have an edge. You have to have a real advantage in the markets, and then it's so much easier to build your psychology on top of that. But what do you think about that whole psychology versus strategy?
I think that they both can coincide, because your psychology, of course, has to be in order for you to be able to maintain or handle a trade. But because of the strategy itself, because of the way we trade, it helps. My psychology is already in control,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not watching the market waiting for my trade to play out. These trades sometimes go for a couple hundred pips, which could take days or weeks. So I'm not sitting there watching my phone, um, anticipating it to play out in that same moment or in that same day. Sometimes, so it's even in the same week where I'm like, this trade could take a while. So i'm I'm very chill, I'm very relaxed when I'm in these trades, because I can't see myself freaking out for days on end waiting for a trade to play out. And even when they're in drawdown, they're on such high time frames. 4 hour daily, where a daily candle could say the trade's going against me, say I'm in drawdown. I have so much time to be able to handle this drawdown, where market could go against me and it could maybe look really bad on a 5 minute chart, but on the daily it doesn't even look like it scratched my trade. So
Mm-hmm.
that's how I'm able to handle it, and in knowing how much I'm risking. If I plan my trade for a 1 to 4, for risking 1 to make 4, my R&R is a 1 to 4. I'm not so much as worried about the trade even playing out, or not playing out at all, because at the end of the day, I know how much I'm risking. I know my plan. My risk plan is set for every single trade the same way. So if I'm sticking to my risk plan, I know the trade's going to take a little while to play out, and I have some time between that trade. there's no reason for emotions to get involved. I feel like they both kind of just can coexist and coincide together.
Yeah, I found it was hard to build psychology when I didn't have a strategy that I had confidence in
Yeah.
versus having, because this, we don't trade like your average Joes. We definitely don't. And I feel like if you really put this strategy in place and work towards it, it just becomes so easy to develop the right psychology. Because like you said, there's not examples of, it's not such a basic method of trading that all day long you keep getting signals. Like there's a lot of people who will trade that break and retest of structure. And if there's an engulfing candle, that's an entry. And then it's like all day long on all these different pairs, you constantly will have a break of structure, a retest, an engulfing candle. And then you have these people who are, their win rate is drastically affected because there's so many trades and the quality is so low compared to having a system in which you have multiple time frames, multiple confirmations, multiple indicators, multiple confluences. And in order to wait for that all to line up, like that's what you're saying. It's like you're not even there chasing certain strategies. It's very easy to just go overboard. But with this, it's very clear cut and defined. Do you think that if you had never discovered this style of trading, do you think you would have had success in around the same period of time or even at all? I don't know how I would have found it.
That's a great question because I think I still to this day have nightmares about it. I have nightmares about being in trades and I'm like watching it lose or I'm like again and it's not even just a loss, but getting into another one with double the lot sizes like I used to. I take a loss, take another trade with way more leverage in hopes that I'd recover that next trade and then lose that as well. And I've had dreams where I've crashed accounts or I've blown profit from accounts. I wake up like, oh my gosh, oh thank God it was a dream. That's not who I am anymore, or whatever. I'm just saying because it's true. I don't think that I would have even gotten this far, even gotten funded, or even got luck. Let's just say gotten lucky and passed the prop firm challenge if I didn't develop the patience and the mindset that's required. And I think that the only way you can is if you do have a proven strategy that works. So I don't think so. I don't think I'd even get this far. I don't think I would have ever been profitable, to be honest. And I think that a huge part of the reason why I'm still doing is you, because without you showing me that it's actually you can do it, I don't think I would have ever believed it. Because I've taken different courses, I've practiced different strategies that were so-called proven and had a decent win rate and still lost. And but this was definitely the first one that was an eye opener for me, and it not only opened my eyes and it made me realize it it showed me that you can be profitable. You can be a day trader. You can say that I am a day trader. I make my main source of income is from trading the markets. You can say that, and it's because of this strategy.
That's awesome, man. Because it does go against some of like common beliefs because it is a method that uses indicators and there's like such this like stigma against using indicators. But then you look at majority of traders are losing money, 90 something percent. And this 90 something percent don't use indicators either. And the same thing with even with the belief in with probabilistic thinking and how people are, they try to make it seem like losses are much less severe or much more common than they have to be. And like with you, similar to what you were saying, like this was the first strategy or that I had ever seen, not just seen it on a chart, but be able to replicate having a win rate consistently over a year of 85, 90%, including break evens, but to be able to maintain that and be like, as much as you can 100% be sure something is going to happen, you can certainly wait for your confluences and timeframes to line up to where you can be 90% sure that something is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can just wait for that to appear versus throwing money out there when it's iffy and like 50-50, that's really, I think, a big step for people when they're from being not profitable to profitable is like the firm belief, the confidence in your ability to trade, where you get to a point where you don't feel like you're guessing anymore, and like you don't feel like that shaky, I don't know what's going to happen, stay up all night because you have a trade, but you have that confidence to where you can actually enter with confidence, let the trade run, put your stop loss to break, manage it properly, and really allow the system to play out. What was your timeline like? Not your overall trading timeline, but what was the timeline like from when you got really serious about trading to when you started to be profitable? Because for me, that was a very small period. Like when I would actually said this, I'm locking in, this is how I'm trading. And I tried to just focus on that. Like when you got to that point where you realized there was a serious way to do it and you were going to stick to it. What was that like?
I think I would say about 6 months ago, because um, I'm a chef. I've been a chef for about 10 years, and I worked in kitchens my whole life. And I'm in my job. It's about 6 months ago. I'm in my job, and I'm actually starting to get the hang of the strategy. And I mean, like really starting like winning trades back to back. I'm in, mind you, I've been doing my Discord for free for about 6 months. I have a track record of it. My spreadsheets proven that it's been profitable. And at this point, I'm in my job. Like I'm leaving. I'm done. I'm out. Like I can't wait. I can't wait. And I'm not saying that because of the money or because of the being profitable, or it's none of that. It's just being so confident in the strategy where I'm like, I could leave my job now, and all I need is a funded account or an account or a trading account that has some money in it, and I'll be okay. And I think it was about 6 months ago. Like I said, I was at my job. I'm telling myself I can leave right now and be okay. And then look at that, 6 months later, I left my job, and I didn't even get. I have pending. I had pending um, withdrawals from both prop firms, and I was already confident where I knew that it didn't. I didn't even care if those payouts came through tomorrow or next week or next month. That I was going to be okay because of the strategy. So in between that 6 month period, it was just being confident that I could leave my job, and then it was okay, let's think realistically. Let me stick to the job for now, because for that extra income. But then seeing every month after that, seeing that I was still profitable, seeing I was still consistent, seeing that nothing's changed. I'm still trading the same way. And then 6 months later, knowing, okay, I said 6 months ago I'm leaving my job. Now it's the time. I'm funded through both prop firms. I know I have payouts coming in. I know that I've proven myself. I've proven that it works. And I think that at this point, I'm very comfortable with just taking off and knowing that I'll be okay as a full-time trader. So yeah, I think that's really where it kind of took off for me. It was just it was the strategy to begin with, and then it ended with the strategy, and now it's just going to continue with the same strategy.
Nice, man. It's awesome to hear like people having the freedom and the choice to be able to leave like a 60 hour a week job to be able to do something where you're able to be at home with your family, spend time with them, devote a couple hours a day, and it's something that's so scalable as well, that there's all this opportunity to get more funding, futures, forex, stocks, crypto. Like you were saying, a chart is a chart, a prop firm is a prop firm. There's all these ways to leverage your capital, and once you at least get to that base level, I hate that social media portrays that like the people who are traders that are well known are far more than just traders, in terms of they do a lot more than just trading. And so people have this viewpoint of like, oh, if somebody is a trader, that means they have to be somebody who's making millions, have all these houses, have all these cars, not realizing that trading is a profession just like anything else out there. And there's levels, there's tiers. And just like at the bottom of every job, I mean, you look at, in order for a doctor to make the type of money that, again, when people think of doctors, they think of, okay, someone who's making a couple 100,000 a year, but they don't start off like that at year one. You're talking 8, 10 years in, or if they own their own business, they're making money. So you have these different tiers. And a lot of people with trading, they don't realize that there's a big gap to fill between, like, I just left my 9 to 5, I'm trading full time, or I'm trading and work a part time, to millionaire with all these cars and houses and watches and all this money. And I really like to shed light that there's nothing wrong and that it's actually normal that you have traders who are making, sometimes just replacing their regular job's income, making maybe just double, just triple, and don't have to be making the millions every month, millions a year, because it's so scalable. It's more about the time freedom than it is about the money.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, it takes a couple years to get good, get consistent, and then the scaling up process happens. Do you think, um, do you see yourself staying within, like, because now you're funded with a forex prop firm and a futures prop firm? Are you thinking to kind of go all in into those two areas, or are you thinking of also like building into different asset classes or different, like stocks or crypto, diversifying? Or how do you feel about concentrating on what you're really good in, or like diversifying?
I think right now the main focus is still becoming a better version of myself as a trader, and then of course, like anyone else has ideas in investing in different maybe business plans. I'm really interested in real estate. And it sounds like such a cliche. Everybody always says they want to get into real estate after they make some money. But I think that I want to start a couple businesses, in construction to help others who need a job, or and then also really progressing with my teachings as a forex trader. I still do my Discord, my free Discord where I teach people how to trade. I would love to start a beginners program for traders, and keep it free. But just like you said, referring to the time freedom, having that time freedom, I would like to keep that time freedom, to be honest. um, the responsibility, I love it. I love being able to help others in the space, and that's exactly what I want to do. But I think the time freedom means is where most of the value is. I'm okay with making my profits as a trader and going about my life, spending all the time I can with my wife and my daughter, and then also using whatever other time that I have that's free to help others trade. So I think I'm going to continue with what I've been doing, consistently trade the same strategy so I can become even better at that. Because this is your third boot camp. I've been to all three. I didn't become complacent or stagnant once I became profitable. I I kept showing up. I kept going on YouTube, watching your YouTube videos, watching the strategy and how it played out, back testing every weekend, constantly trying to be a better trader and become a better version of myself. And I think that the only way you can do that is if you consistently reach for that goal. And I don't even think that it can be called a goal if it's something that you don't see an end to. I think that in order for you to become successful at this and actually overcome, I would say, the person who you don't want to be, is by constantly reaching to be the person that you've always aspired to be. And yeah, I think that I would say that I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, keep back testing, keep practicing, and not change. I think that that's what's going to keep me profitable, and it's actually what's going to make this a career for me.
Nice. That's awesome, man. And I know, so you were mentioning about spending time with your wife and your daughter. That's another topic that I think is kind of a cool area to highlight, like the trading journey and what that's like for somebody who has a young child or is expecting a young child. Because it's kind of an area that not a lot of people know what to expect, or just how difficult it is when you have these other responsibilities, especially, being a parent with young kids or a young child. Can you talk about what that was like, as far as, even the time management is something that's good to highlight.
Um, Well, the best advice, or the best way to explain it is referring back to, your strategy. And I think your strategy comes with a schedule. And I think being strict with not just how you trade, but your whole life in general is what makes you consistent. So, like I said, I'd wake up every day at 6 a.m. My daughter's not awake by then. Her and my wife are still sleeping. So 6 a.m. I'd wake up, I'd turn on my computer, I'd start my coffee. I take my dog for a walk. So I'm already doing things. My day's already is moving. I get ready for the day. I bring my daughter her milk. I have her milk ready by her bed before she woke up. She's waking up in between this time period. So it's like from 6 to like around 8. I'm just getting my day started, and then at 8 a.m. I hop on charts. I send the Zoom link out to the Discord so everybody has access to that, and then I start my call at around 8:15, 8:30. And as my and I'm gonna kind of go back and forth, but as my wife is getting her day started and getting my daughter ready, I'm still on the call. So I'm able to do all these things. I'm still able to live my life and do the things that I normally do, because even without trading, I still got up, took my dog for a walk, made coffee. But I think it started with knowing that I needed early mornings. It starts with starting your day as soon as possible. If you wake up to an alarm, don't snooze it. Get right up. Jump out of bed. With that excitement and anticipation, like, I'm gonna make some money today. I'm actually going to. I don't have to go to a job, but I do need to do my job as a day trader, and as a mentor, as a teacher. And it's getting up, getting your day started, still doing your calls, still doing everything you need to do, and then having the whole day with my family, or having the maybe even a couple hours after I'm done with my morning call to follow up with other traders, to maybe make a YouTube video, or maybe make a podcast, or do something like that, and then going about my day. So I think that it's definitely manageable. It's definitely doable. Even when I was working my day job, I'd got to get up I didn't have work till 10, maybe 11 o'clock. The restaurant didn't open till noon. So it's like, I get up, I do my same thing, make coffee, I go on my calls, I do my call for an hour. Right at New York Open, my call would end. Mind you, like, I'm a swing trader, so I'm not always looking for trades around that time. But I'd wait for New York Open just to kind of see where market's at for the day, especially US 30, gold. And then as soon as New York Open, close my laptop, get in my car, and drive to work. Or that I'd spend that little time I had with my daughter and my wife before leaving the house, and then I'd go to work. I'd work all day. But that's the beauty also of the strategy, is that I can still be on charts in the morning, go to work all day, and not have to worry about whether I'm missing out on a trade. Because either I'm waiting for a setup, or I'm in a trade, and I'm able to work all day without even looking at the markets. That's just keep coming back to the strategy. It just works so well.
Yeah.
Regardless of your lifestyle, or your schedule, or how you plan it really all comes down to something that you stick to, and sticking to something that works.
And I like that you brought up, like, making that time available, because it's tough when people have kids or they have a job, they have other it's very easy to put something that's not at the top of the priority list kind of like on the back burner. And just like in a relationship, if you want to find time, you'll end up making time. It's like that with everything in your life. Like, I found people don't seem some people just don't take it seriously enough and don't realize just how serious you have to take it. But like for college, people are willing to pay 50,000 a year, 40,000, 60,000 a year, 20,000, whatever the range is, paying all this money, relocate to another state, sometimes relocate to another country, bunk with somebody that they don't know, pay all this money, do this, alter their entire life to basically build up their education, do all that for 4 years or longer so they can get their degree. But then people will turn to trading and find that it's like absurd to have to cut out a couple hours out of the week, or find that I have to wake up an hour early every morning so I can mark charts up. It's not as easy as just like, oh, if I have 10 minutes at the end of the day, 20, I'll do back testing if I'm available at the end of the night. You really have to take it just as serious as if you would another career path. Just like I was going to college online, I was doing a part-time job, and like I dropped all that stuff when I had found out about trading because I fell in love with trading right away, and I knew that that was going to be the vehicle that I was going to use. That was the first time I was really passionate about something and realized that was what I wanted to do also, and I was willing to do and cut out whatever I had to make that work. Hobbies went out the window for a couple of years. Second job at that time went out the window. Going to college online went out the window. And it was all that, just like you said, so I can wake up early in the morning before everybody in the house woke up. So I was able to get that quiet time that I can devote to get my studying, my education, my marking up the charts and trading, and then find a job that I was able to work a couple hours into the morning. So that way you can do both. You can still get a job where you were able to pay bills, but still devote a nice chunk of time towards your main education. I think like if you do put it on the back burner and treat it as something that's secondary or third or fourth of prior, you're never going to be able to make it in nearly as much time. But if you really do narrow your focus, you're able to almost like beeline, not just make it your primary focus, just like with spending money on education. People trying to go the long way of figuring it all out yourself, and it's going to take you way more time and cost you way more money than it is to spend the education to learn from somebody who can get you there much quicker. And it's ultimately more cost effective as well. So I really like that, you highlighted that making it happen as far as getting up early, because that's what you had to do to make it work. That was the best time that it worked. Because some people want that easy way out or want to hear that they can just kind of slide it into their schedule. And just like some people look at it as maybe part-time, I'll trade and make a couple extra dollars, but it's really something that's a very serious skill set, a very serious career path. And the outcome of it, there's no way you're going to want to just do that part-time because of how much you can make from it and just how it can replace everything else. It really is something that you have to take serious and treat it respectfully.
Yeah, and I think that it requires a change of lifestyle, and I think that a lot of people struggle with that because I did myself. I had a very serious drug problem. I also had, I drunk a lot almost every day. That would make it very hard for people to wake up in the morning when they needed to, or maybe go to bed at a decent time so they can wake up, without being groggy or out feeling lazy. So those were things I had to let go of as well. Those are things that I had to stop doing, and it had to literally be removed from my life in order for me to move forward. So I noticed I tried those things. I tried to keep to live the same life I was living, to smoke a little bit and drink a little bit and still hop on charts. Maybe even do it the night before and hop on in the morning, and it never worked. I always felt myself falling back into the same pattern, and then I'd lose myself. I'd forget what I was supposed to be looking at. I didn't follow up with trades like I was supposed to. It became a horrible cycle. And then once I let go of those things, once I said, okay, no more, I can't do this anymore. I quit drinking, I quit smoking, I stopped. I started really focusing on my relationship with God, and I started really taking it serious, understanding that there is consequence. There is. And once we understand that there's consequence that come with this lifestyle, then we can realize that that we will never be blessed. We will never truly understand what we're fully capable of, or what God has in store for us, and what He has planned for us until we turn from these things. So I think that helped me a lot too. The most important thing was getting sober.
Definitely can relate to that because it was very hard to make progress it's because like strategy wise there has to be a degree of critical thinking, and then also the development of, you have to be able to learn, comprehend critical thinking, and then of course the building of psychology, managing your emotions, and therefore anything that's really altering your emotions is going to make trading so much more difficult. and hard to make progress, because any sort of progress you make, all of a sudden when substances are involved, everything is just all over the place, and progress that you may have made is lost. Your memory doesn't retain the same. You don't maintain the same emotion, mood swings. It's definitely a recipe for disaster. And it's hard enough if you're completely sober. You're doing it if you're under the influence at times or hungover. It makes it way more difficult. That's why you really do have to take it really serious. People don't realize like how important this skill set really is, in terms of there's not much else out there that will give you the type of ROI that trading will, in terms of once you get this skill set down, you require very little time to essentially make an unlimited amount of money. I'm saying unlimited in terms of it's so scalable that what starts off as a small amount can grow and grow and grow. And it requires very little time each day, each week, where most other career paths or even entrepreneurship requires a lot of time, a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of time away from your family. Trading is something that there's really nothing else like it in terms of what's required, the characteristics that have to build up, the psychology that you have to go through, the probabilistic thinking. It's just completely different. And I want to bring, because you mentioned like having that relationship with God, getting closer to God, getting away from drugs, and how that also brought you closer to, or really helped you along your journey as a trader. I know you had religious and spiritual beliefs even before trading. How would you say your beliefs, especially when it comes to religious and I guess God specifically, from when you were still using substances and versus from being sober? Because there's people who are religious and will use drugs and drink and still talk, but I think it's different when you're having an experience and relationship with God where drugs or hallucinogen, all that stuff isn't, where it's a true authentic relationship.
Right. So if I'm being honest, I would still think and feel the same when I was using these substances and drinking, but when I started reading scripture more, started getting more into the word of God, I started realizing that wasn't me feeling the same. That was my conviction. That was my Holy Spirit screaming out, for help. And then when I said, okay, let me try this sober. Let me give it some time. Let me spend some more time with God on a level where I'm just who I'm meant to be. Then he started to reveal to me that this is what it's like to be obedient. Because as I read the word, it tells us specifically in scripture that drunkards and, to be sober, to be vigilant. And it was almost impossible to be vigilant if I'm not sober. It was almost impossible to be aware of my surroundings and be aware of what I was doing. So for instance, the perfect example would be being in a trade. So now you're in a trade and you're taking a loss. What happens when you take a loss? Your emotions get involved and you start jumping to, let me jump in more lots. Let me throw more onto this trade in hopes it goes in my favor. And what happens when you do that? You forget your strategy. You forget who you are. You forget where you are. You forget everything about your whole plan to begin with. And then what happens after that? You lose yourself. You lose your account. You lose your money. You lose your challenge, whatever it is. You completely lose. So do you expect to be vigilant? How do you expect to be in control if you're not even in control of yourself? So I feel like that's when I realized this is what it truly means to have a relationship with God. Before, the whole time I'm thinking I have a relationship with God, I'm fooling myself. I'm telling myself that this is normal, that it's okay to drink. It says in the Bible that we can have a glass of wine for our belly's sake or for the things we go through. Well, that's not entirely what it's meant for, And the way I see it is, you don't have to refer to it as something that is what God meant for all, but what he meant for you and as you as an individual. The word of God is for all of us, but we all have to take that word and that relationship on a personal scale. Don't worry about what others are doing. Don't worry
Mm-hmm.
about whether the next man is drinking wine for his belly's sake. How does wine affect you as a person? And it affected me in the worst possible way. So I knew the only way I can move forward with my trading, and more importantly, my relationship with God, is if I let it go. And when I let it go, God then revealed to me who I'm meant to be, and He
Mm-hmm.
also gave me the gifts. I didn't get funded until I got sober. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't actually start making money until I changed my life and my relationship with God, and got where God was like, you. It's just a matter of just not just having faith, but being faithful.
Mm-hmm. No, it's definitely true. And definitely, yeah, I had the same experience of when I was using, I just couldn't retain anything. And what you're saying too with drinking, with alcohol, with other stuff, it's your motive and your reasoning behind why you do something is oftentimes almost like your intention, your motive, almost more important than the actual act of what you're doing. Because there's times where somebody may unintentionally, you had good intentions, but they may take it offensively. And you're not necessarily doing something, your intentions were pure. And like God knows your intentions. And so for there, you have people that can try to almost lie to themselves or justify, oh, I'm just doing this to have fun. But usually there's some core issue that as to why you're actively seeking drugs and alcohol and why you're trying to escape that feeling of sobriety.
Mm-hmm.
Something that's wrong, something that's sometimes it's more buried subconsciously than people realize. It's like hidden traumas that could be from your childhood, things that you didn't cope with well, that's causing you to seek out these substances. And until you're really sober, in that sober mindset, and deal with some of those issues, like I felt that desire when I dealt with the core issues, I mean, and having God to help me deal with those issues as to for what was really going on internally, as to why I wanted to get high and why I wanted to drink all the time and why I was doing those things. When you get to the core of the problem, that outer urge or to fill that hole got replaced.
Yeah.
And now it's like I'm not chasing that substance like I used to, because I found out why I wanted it in the first place. But if
Yeah.
you're not honest with yourself about the real reason, it's very easy, like you said, for someone to just pull a line from somewhere, pull some sort of excuse to try to say, oh, well, my buddies just keep offering it to me and I don't want it. It just keeps ending up there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you have to take ownership, man. I think when it comes to like the spiritual side of things, and like, I think a big concept that a lot of people who are strong-willed and hard-headed have is like when they have the belief of like, how do you turn your will over? Or if I'm a strong-willed person, why do I need to say I'm powerless and give someone else? And it's as if they think God is like a human person that they need to like, oh, here's my leash and you tell me where to go. And
Mm-hmm.
it's a completely different sense. Like when you try to explain it to someone who might have misconceptions about what it's like to try to align your will with God's, I say almost like doing His will is more like aligning your will with His, and that's an easier way to explain it to people, I think, than
Yeah.
like you're a slave, He's a master, and like
Yeah.
there's just so many misconceptions. That's why I try to often speak in a way that comes off almost like subtle and
Mm-hmm.
not too. I try to really watch the wording I use so that way it's more relatable for people and they can try to
Yeah, of course.
relate to it, because certain things can seem misconceived,
Mm-hmm.
misconstrued, or people word it in the wrong way, and
Mm-hmm.
so I
The
try to talk about it in a
the
sense.
the best way for me is to relate it to trading. I hop on a chart, like you said, the filling that void. But why don't I just fill the void with trading and making
Mm-hmm.
money? But what happens when you do that? You fill the void with greed and money instead of passion and contempt, and then the willingness to help others. You start filling that void. So that's how there. That's in a way the best way I can put it to someone is I fill it with trading, and then it comes with understanding. So with you can easily, like I said, instead of me waking up and drinking or waking up and smoking, I hop on a chart and try to fill that void with making money. But I can't just do that. I need to follow up with the plan. I need to follow up with the strategy, and then that void is automatically filled. Where I didn't need to rush to make money or rush to take a trade in order for that void to be filled. It was the time I used to help others, to the time I used on my Zoom call to find the trade, to find the setup, and then next thing you know, my day's almost over, where the rest of my day is spent with my family and the people I love, and then I'm like, wow, my day went by. That is the proof. That is the love that God has for us and has for me on that personal level, where when I wake up and thank God and I ask him to get me through the day, he's already filled that void for me. And I think that's the best way, is understanding that a lot of people will confuse the two and think, okay, I got sober, now what? Do I just hop on a chart and I'm going to be successful? I'm going to make money and I'm going to do. No, it's follow the footsteps. Do it the right way. Have a strategy. Have a plan that you can follow up with, and maybe start a Discord. Maybe not even that. Just have a group of people who have the same goal or mindset as you, and then follow up with them. Give yourself a reason, a responsibility, because this doesn't come with just an average life. At that point, when you're trusting God with your life, and you putting that your faith in Him, and He's instilling you with that faith. Now He's going to put things in your life. He's going to bless you with maybe a responsibility or someone in your life to help guide them, and it's going to eventually, you'll start seeing it fill that void, where you think one day's gone by, I haven't drunk or smoked or anything. Months gone by, I haven't drunk. Now years going by, you're like, wow, I haven't even had the urge, because that void is filled.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. I'm glad it was nice to cover like a variety of topics, from what it was like before, what it was like now, some of the things that we changed, um, how spirituality, how stopping drugs and alcohol, how belief in a power greater than yourself, like how all these things play a role in our life and in our journey, and ultimately in bettering ourselves, bettering our life, bettering our journey. So it was definitely a pleasure sitting down and talking about this with you. Really appreciate you doing this as well. And I know we're going to have more episodes like this with other people, but also with you, man. There's always a lot of good talks that we have. And
thank you for having me.
yes,
Yeah,
no
thank you.
problem.
Appreciate it.
Thanks everybody for watching this. Appreciate you guys. Definitely leave a comment if you can relate to something in the journey. Definitely also leave a like and a subscribe to both our YouTube channels for more content like this. Thank you guys.
Thank you.